sincerely apologize for that technical glitch. And it's the news at 10 tonight. FCT Minister Nyesom Wike reaffirms that Obiakpor local government area remains a decisive force in River State politics as he concludes his tour of local government areas across the state. Governor Siminalayi Fubara calls for calm among Rivers residents amidst the impeachment saga in the state. Minister of Defense General Christopher Musa assures that the nation will overcome its security challenges as it honors and remembers its fallen heroes. And Iran warns it will retaliate against the United States if attacked as protesters continue to defy a deadly government crackdown. FCT Minister Nyesom Wike says that Obiakpor local government area of River State wields significant political influence and voting power capable of shaping the outcome of next River State governorship election. Addressing a political gathering in a local council area, Mr. Wike emphasized that the people of Obiakpor are keenly aware of their political clout and will leverage it strategically to protect their own interest, noting that politics is ultimately a game of interest and negotiation.
It's the grand finale of the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike's thank you tour across River State, and he's wrapping it up at the Captain Elichi Amadi Polytechnic in his home local government of Obiakpor. Amidst a sea of heads, drumming and singing, one by one, his supporters from the local government mount the stage to declare their support both for the minister and the president, saying they will back President Tinubu for president, but aren't sure about who to support for governorship.
Our leader, the message is simple from what we have heard so far. When it comes to who will be the president of Nigeria come 2027, we know we have to go. We know we have to. When it comes to the other one, who will be governor of River State, we don't know where to go, but we know where not to go. As the state chairman of DDG in River State, our leader is a member of my party, and also from Obiakpor. So my own duty here is to thank all of you that have believed in him, and to say, God, thank you for giving us a platform. Yes, Excellency, for us in the local government area, you have done what Nagoya could not do.
The Speaker of the River State House of Assembly, Martin Amewuli, pledges his support for Mr. Wike and the President, while the minority leader of the House of Representatives says the minister should be unbothered, as Obiakpor is the largest voting bloc in the state.
Your Excellency, on behalf of the River State House of Assembly, of course, it's an opportunity. We want to once again reassure you of our prayers and our support as we continue to support His Excellency, Mr. President, right here in Abuja.
Your Excellency, you are our father. Whatever you say, your children will obey.
Mr. Wike takes the stage and declares that nobody can emerge as River State Governor without the support of Obiakpor. He also takes a swipe at the President General of Ohaneze Ndigbo.
With the Igbo people, but I'm not a member of Ohaneze. So if you are declaring somebody to run for second term, you are not speaking on behalf of the British nationality. You may be speaking on behalf of Ohaneze. So nobody should be blushing. Don't bother our people who say, sack me. It doesn't lie in their mouth. If my appointer believes that I cannot offer anything again, he has a right. It's not that you should tell him. Power is not dashed. Power is struggle for it. After all, if Donald Trump does not will you go to Venezuela to be the president? He won't do that because he has the power. That's why he will go to Venezuela. Whether it's wrong or it's right, because he has power. So, for the people of Obiabo, we have the power to dictate who will come.
Finally, the tour has ended, but the political ripples seem to have just begun, with the impeachment threat dangling over the governor's neck. Charles Oporum, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara is calling for calm amid the ongoing impeachment proceedings initiated by the State House of Assembly. Speaking during a church service held to mark the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day, Governor Fubara reassured residents that all will be well. He further explains that his decision to remain silent in the midst of distractions was a deliberate choice.
When we were marking the New Year dinner, I said something that the reason why I don't shout, I don't complain, I know what I have. I know that I have what is supreme, and that is God. So I want everyone to be relaxed. What is important is peace for this dear state. And we'll get it by the special name of God.
At the same event, the State Deputy Governor, Professor Ngozi Odu, appealed to the people to continue to support the administration through prayers, describing it as a pillar sustaining the government.
Let us leave this wonderful cathedral. Let it be resonating in our hearts that we should think of the good that will be remembered by. It doesn't matter what else you think of, but let us be remembered for good. And when we do that, we look at life more positively. We do things more positively and more impactful. I want to thank all of you for being here, but I want to solicit to all of us that as we have come today to pray for legionnaires, for their wives of the fallen heroes, the husbands of the fallen heroines, please continue to uphold the government of Sir Dr. Siminalayi Fubara and my humble self in prayers.
And in Imo State, Governor Hope Uzodinma has emphasized the importance of deliberate and purposeful policies by governments at all levels to support the families of fallen servicemen and women. Speaking during activities marking Armed Forces Remembrance Day at the government chapel in Owerri, the state capital, Governor Uzodinma assured that the state government will continue to play its part by making meaningful contributions to the welfare and well-being of the families of the fallen heroes.
All those affected by their death, their immediate families, their relatives, their communities, the government must, as a matter of national importance, create sufficient welfare package. And we as individuals, in appreciation of the contributions of these great men and women, must individually support those they left behind. In Imo State, I'll do my best to contribute the quota on behalf of the government of Imo State in ensuring that members of the Legion, members of the bereaved families are supported to the best of our ability. So I enjoin all of us to do the same.
And we head to Anambra State, where Governor Chukwuma Soludo also joined members of the military and other security agencies at the solemn mass in honor of Nigeria's armed forces held at St. Patrick's Cathedral in Awka. The mass, presided over by the Catholic Bishop of Awka Diocese, Most Reverend Paulinus Eziokafor, saw Governor Soludo pay tribute to the sacrifices of officers and men of the armed forces, especially those who lost their lives to terrorist attacks.
when my campaign was going on in 2021, the day we were supposed to have our campaign in the Uganda blog, just at a roundabout, these terrorists, as we must call them by their name, terrorists, shot down 2 DSS staff who were there in the advance team, my predecessor, to the campaign. More than them, for to their dogs. They are terrorists in our bushes. And they're coming up, kidnapping our people, killing our people. The member representing me there in the House of Assembly here in Uganda. I'm glad the federal government has now officially designated all these people in the bushes and so on who are coming out to do kidnapping and so on and so forth as terrorists. Because we must call a spade a spade. They are criminals. Criminals who made our place trying to turn our place to become a desolate homeland. So on this occasion, we remember all those that they killed needlessly. That they killed needlessly. Thousands of people were killed by these people, terrorists. And may their souls rest in peace. And on this occasion, we pray, never again. Never again. That should be the lesson. That the war ended 1970. And this place, the Southeast, must be allowed to stay in peace.
In part 2, after the break, National Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, suspended its nationwide strike, citing significant progress on its demand. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the News at 10, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. FCT Minister Nyesom Wike reaffirms that Obiakpor local government area remains a decisive force in River State politics as he concludes his tour of local government areas across the state. Governor Siminalayi Fubara calls for calm among Rivers residents amidst the impeachment saga in the state. Minister of Defense General Christopher Musa assures that the nation will overcome its security challenges as it honors and remembers its fallen heroes. And Iran warns it will retaliate against the United States if attacked as protesters continue to defy a deadly government crackdown. The nation's capital now, where the federal government has reaffirmed President Bola Tinubu's commitment to restoring peace and security in Nigeria, while commending the sacrifices of members of the Nigerian Armed Forces. Speaking at a special interdenominational church service in Abuja to mark this year's Armed Forces celebration and Remembrance Day, the Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, assured that the President remains committed to supporting the welfare of security agencies, and he calls for national unity. Meanwhile, in his sermon during the service, the head of the Presbyterian Church of Nigeria, Abuja Synod, Most Reverend Uche Dan Okafor, cautioned the Nigerian military against yielding to temptations of taking over power. Our correspondent Emperor Simon reports.
The National Christian Center Abuja is filled with members of the Nigerian Armed Forces and their spouses who have converged for a special interdenominational church service as part of activities lined up for the commemoration of the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day. In attendance are some principal officers of the National Assembly, the Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Oluyede, the Chief of Defense Intelligence, Lieutenant General Emmanuel Ondiandeye, and the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetukun, and their spouses, as well as heads of some paramilitary agencies. It's a moment of reflection and for the celebration of the valor and sacrifices of members of the Nigerian Armed Forces. It is also a time to draw inspiration from God's word.
Instead of your shame, you shall have double honor, and instead of completion, they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore, in their land, they shall possess double, everlasting joy shall be theirs.
For by grace you have been saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God.
Underscoring the need to appreciate the sacrifices of members of the Nigerian Armed Forces, the guest speaker urges them to resist the temptation of wanting to take over power.
As ordinary citizens like us are hearing stories of what is happening in other West African countries, the way the militaries are taking over, we appeal to you. Don't think about it.
The Minister of Defense and the representative of the Senate President reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to tackling insecurity in Nigeria.
We honor with deep reverence the brave men and women who paid their supreme price in service to our nation. We also celebrate those who continue to serve with courage and dedication, including the spouses and the family members. The President and the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Nigeria is doing everything possible to ensure that the armed forces of Nigeria and indeed other security agencies are well taken care of, well equipped to ensure that they perform their task credibly.
Dear beloved, I want to assure you that effort is in top gear to restore Nigeria as the most peaceful country and the most secure country in Africa.
Highlights of the service are intercessory prayers for the leadership of the country, the protection of members of the armed forces, the unity of Nigeria, and for the families of the fallen heroes, among others. From the National Christian Center, Abuja, Empress Simon, Channels Television News.
From the nation's capital to Taraba State, where the Anglican Bishop of Jalingo Diocese, Bishop Foreman Nedesing, is calling for stronger unity among security agencies and stronger political will by the government in order to win the war against terrorism and similar criminalities across the country. The clergy made the call at the Interdenominational Church service in Jalingo, which is part of the scheduled activities to mark the Armed Forces Remembrance Day in the state. The state governor, Abu Kefas, commended the country's armed forces for their sacrifices and called for better welfare for the military.
Governor Abu Kefas, his wife, 7 and retired military officers, alongside sister security agencies, wives of fallen heroes and family members, gather at the auditorium of the Anglican Communion Cathedral Church of Christ in Jalingo for an interdenominational service to mark the 2026 Nigeria Armed Forces Remembrance Day. In his address, the Bishop of Jalingo Diocese calls for unity among security agencies to defeat terrorists and other criminals.
Nothing can stop the community, the society, the nation that is united. The reason is because unity is key to progress.
For the military, the protection of Nigeria's territorial boundary is not negotiable, just as they pledge to continue the onslaught against insurgents.
Over the past year, despite the persistent security and socioeconomic challenges,
the armed forces of Nigeria in collaboration with sister security agencies and relevant stakeholders have continued to discharge their constitutional responsibilities with professionalism, courage, and resilience.
For the state governor, the season calls for appreciation of the sacrifices made by men and officers of the armed forces while emphasizing the importance of unity.
The men and women of our armed forces have placed the value of nation above self. There is no members of the armed forces or security agencies that will say this one is a Muslim, this one is a Christian, this one is a pagan, this one is this tribe, this one is... All of us are one. If we don't build that spirit, we cannot achieve anything. And that is what is keeping this nation standing, is the armed forces. Once the armed forces is divided, this nation is gone.
The Interdenominational Service is a regular feature of activities to mark the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, which is celebrated annually on January the 15th.
The National Association of Resident Doctors NARD has suspended its planned nationwide strike following what it describes as significant progress recorded in its demands through sustained engagements with the federal government and other key stakeholders. The decision was taken at a virtual emergency National Executive Council meeting today, where the association reviewed the status of its demands and addressed recent development. According to them, the suspension followed the direct presidential intervention led by Vice President Kashim Shettima on behalf of President Bola Tinubu. The Niger State Police Command has confirmed an attack by suspected armed bandits on Damala village, located at the Woko district of Bogo local government area of Niger State. In a statement issued by the police public relations officer Wasiu Abiodun, the incident occurred in the early hours of Saturday, January the 10th, 2026. And according to that statement, the attackers stormed the village, rustled an unspecified number of cattle, and killed 4 residents during the invasion. The hoodlums also set several shops in the community ablaze before fleeing the scene. And still on security, the commander of 1 Brigade, Nigerian Army Gusau, Brigadier General Mustapha Jimo, has said that insecurity in Zamfara State has been reduced to the barest minimum. Brigadier General Jimo made this known while speaking with newsmen during the 2025 West Africa social activities organized by 1 Brigade Command in Gusau, the Zamfara State capital.
The 2025 West Africa Social Activity Celebration brought together members of the barracks community, military personnel and civilians, fostering unity and peaceful coexistence with different ethnic groups including Igbo, Hausa, Fulani, Yoruba, and Tiv, thrilling guests with colorful cultural dance performances, showcasing Nigeria's rich cultural diversity. Commander of 1 Brigade Nigerian Army highlights the essence of the event, which provides a unique opportunity for interaction with members of the Nigerian Army barracks community and civilian guests in a relaxed and friendly atmosphere.
The historical event we are gathered to witness this afternoon is one of the most cherished and enduring traditions in the Nigerian Army. 1 Brigade was provided a unique opportunity for me to interact with members of the wider Nigerian barrack community in Gusau, as well as the civilian guests.
The governor of Zamfara State, Dauda Lawal, who was represented by the Commissioner for Works, commends the officers and soldiers of 1 Brigade operating under Operation Fasanyama for their sustained sacrifices and commitments towards restoring peace, security, and stability across the state.
At this event draws to a close, His Excellency reiterates the commitment of the Zamfara State government to continue collaboration and support for the Nigerian Army and other security agencies within available resources in the collective pursuit of lasting peace and development in the state.
In an interview with newsmen at the end of the event, the brigade commander restates that terrorist and banditry activities in Zamfara State are on the decline, as commuters can now travel freely within and outside the state without fear of security threats.
the terrorist activities and banditry in Fubara State have reduced to the nearest minimum. And you can all witness that you can all travel from Fujia to Gusau, Gusau to Sokoto without any threat.
The event climaxes with a presentation of prizes to deserving soldiers and a tug-of-war competition involving personnel of the Nigerian Army, the Department of State Services, DSS, and the Federal Road Safety Corps.
While the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Waidu Shaibu, has charged troops of the Nigerian Army to intensify efforts at protecting critical national infrastructure, noting that effective security of national assets is key to economic stability. Lieutenant General Shaibu gave this charge during the working visit to the headquarters of the 6th Division of the Nigerian Army in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, where he addressed officers and men of the division on their operational responsibilities.
Their job here is very key to protecting critical national infrastructures. Once you do that job very well, it will impact positively on the economy of the country. So you need to take your job here very seriously. Disciplined, committed, and dedicated to the mandate of this division. While you do that, rest assured I will take care of your welfare issues.
And still ahead on the news at 10, 3 years after his initial arrest, NDLEA operatives apprehend an 80-year-old ex-convict in possession of illicit drugs. Please stay with us.
ChannelsTV.com has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via your smart TV platforms on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Channels Television. Ubiquitous.
Welcome back. Is to watching the news at 10 on Channels Television. In the midst of Nigeria's anti-corruption fight and the growing political storm around it, the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, Mr. Ola Olukoyede, says that it is not a witch hunt mission against the former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Abubakar Malami. The EFCC boss has been clarifying issues relating to allegations made by Mr. Malami in an exclusive interview with Channels Television's political editor, Seun Okinbaloye. The EFCC boss says the former AGF has been under investigation before he assumed office and that the matter predated his assumption of office.
Let me tell you about that particular format or debate you are talking about. There is nothing personal in this matter, If Nigeria should move forward, all of us must agree that this fight must be fought without being partisan. And that's what I want Nigerians to understand and to agree with us. So now I want to tell Nigerians that the investigation of this man predated me in the office. And a lot of people don't know that.
Malami?
Yes. I inherited the investigation file. What I did was to ensure that the investigation was carried out in a very professional and thorough manner. He has been under investigation for almost 2.5 years.
Since immediately after the exit of the Buhari government, there is an investigation started.
The file was opened, not even under me. I inherited it.
Wouldn't I take
and for the past over 2 years I've been in the office, we've been painstakingly, carrying out the investigation, trying to establish, some of these, offenses and all of that. Not until I was convinced that we had a watertight case, and Nigerians are witnesses. So there's nothing personal about it. I don't understand the issue of persecution and all of that.
The former governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal, is accusing the administration of President Bola Tinubu of orchestrating the defection of governors into the ruling All Progressives Congress. Speaking to journalists in Sokoto shortly after a special prayer session organized to mark his 60th birthday, the former governor maintains that the coalition of opposition parties are working towards unseating the government of President Bola Tinubu come 2027.
That's why we're still where we are, beginning again, as some of our leaders used to say, BE, begin again. And that's what we are doing in the coalition, trying to really work together as Nigerians and bring everybody on board that is concerned about the unity of this country, its progress and development. And then that's what I see coming out of what we are doing as a coalition and what we are doing as a new political order. Not completely new, because the people are not new, but trying to rebuild the confidences around all of us political leaders and the citizenry, so that the connection may remain between leadership and the rest members of the Nigerian society. But when I see governors running away from their political party simply because they want to go and align with the center and belong to the center because they believe that they are going to write results for them, it's bullshit. Nobody is going to write any result this time around. Nobody. We are ready and prepared to go through an electoral process that must be free and fair. And any attempt to write any result will be resisted, lawfully and constitutionally.
Well, on the other side, political leaders of the All Progressives Congress, the APC, in the southeastern region of the country have decided to come together and support President Bola Tinubu at the 2027 general elections. And this was the consensus of the Southeast stakeholders meeting in Enugu, as stakeholders of the APC met to re-strategize ahead of the electoral season and equally address internal issues of the party in different states of the region.
Members of the All Progressives Congress in the Southeast have converged here in Enugu State for the Southeast APC stakeholders meeting to discuss the challenges of the party and to strategize for the next election cycle. The governors of Enugu, Ebonyi and Imo States, Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, National Assembly members, both past and present, as well as other political stakeholders, are in attendance. After giving the 5 state party chairmen the opportunity to discuss issues peculiar to their states, the host governor, Peter Mba, shared his optimism that their political move and alignment with the center will bring fortune to the region.
What is emerging now is the influence of a sustained coordination in collectively affirming an end to decades of fragmented politics in the Southeast. We're saying that the Southeast will no longer stand as a divided political unit.
His thoughts are re-echoed by the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, who believes that the southern political corridor must be united.
My own brothers, let us not be deceived by those who seek to isolate us with sectional sentiments. The southern political corridor must remain united. We must realign. We must consolidate. Any attempt to fracture this alliance leaves the Southeast with a paltry sum of votes, insufficient to swing power, but sufficient to alienate us further in the coming years. We must invest our votes where they will yield returns in the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
While the Ebonyi State Governor commended the President for enabling the party thrive in the Southeast, the Imo State Governor, who is the party leader in the region, wants stakeholders to join hands for the victory of the APC in the Southeast in the upcoming general elections.
I charge you today to look beyond the narrow considerations. Let us rise from this meeting with a firm resolution that we will support President Bola Tinubu from every booth, every ward, every local government in the Southeast. Let us galvanize our people. Let us
the Southeast.
Other issues discussed were the e-registration of members across the region, a move the stakeholders say counts first in the hierarchy of election victory.
President Bola Tinubu has arrived in Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates, for the 2026 edition of the Abu Dhabi Sustainability Summit. The president's aircraft touched down the Zayed International Airport at about 11:30 p.m. local time, and he was received by Sheikh Shabut Nayan Al Nayan, the Minister of State and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. President Tinubu is in the UAE at an invitation of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nayan, President of the United Arab Emirates. The week-long summit is an annual event that mobilizes leaders from government, business and society to chart the new next era of sustainable development. President Tinubu had left Lagos on Sunday, December the 28th for Europe, continuing his end-of-year break ahead of his trip to Abu Dhabi. Turning our attention now to Nigeria's economy, development economist Professor Ken Ife has raised the alarm over what he describes as a systemic conspiracy against capital expenditure in Nigeria's budgeting process. Speaking on the recurring delays and the capital releases, Professor Ife lamented that the persistent trend of shifting capital spending in successive yearly budgets, thereby sidelining the most impactful component of the national budget, while absolving the Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edu, of any blame. Professor Ife argued that the real issues lie with those who draft the budget, calling for a thorough review of the budget formulation process to ensure that capital expenditure is prioritized and serves the broader interest of the people.
So the conspiracy is against capital expenditure. So they now push it to March, push it to June, push it to December. You still haven't spent the capital. And it's because you overbloated the budget. So all other things take precedence over capital. And then look, maintain the injustice. The injustice is that the government employs less than 10% of the population are involved in government, and are sharing 90% of our wealth. It is that 30% on capital, that's where the whole population get a look into budget. That's where we get capital expenditure, that's where you create jobs and you shove it by the side. Is it fair? So now you have some carryovers of 2023, you have the whole of the capital of 2024 shoved in to 2025, and then you entered to the December of 2025, you haven't even started the capital of 2025. So how are you going to do to 2026? So they have to go and revoke the law because it's an appropriation law. The law is appropriation law. They have to revoke that and then reenact a combined one for 2025 and then begin to look for the future. So that's not easy necessary. This has taken us 10 years back in budget and planning. When you have law, the reason is that they refuse to look at the law that governs budgeting, that governs fiscal planning.
And that's why you
that is why we are in this mess. So don't blame Minister of Finance. Minister of Finance is doing what he's asked to do because he brings in a budget that doesn't make sense, and then somebody is breathing down his neck. Pay this. So leave him alone. Who originated that budget that is causing all this confusion?
To catch the full interview, please watch Newsnight at 9 p.m. on Monday on all channels television platforms. Barely 3 years after he was arrested, persecuted and sentenced to 2 years imprisonment for dealing in illicit drugs, an 80-year-old Jeremiah Isaiah Nkata has again been nabbed by operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, for returning to the criminal trade. Notorious for illicit drug business, Nkata was first arrested by the NDLEA on December the 14th, 2022. He was prosecuted and sentenced to 2 years in jail by a federal high court in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. Nkata returned to the illicit drug trade following credible intelligence. NDLEA operatives on Saturday, January the 10th this year, tracked the octogenarian ex-convict to his home in Abak in Akwa Ibom State, where he was arrested with 5.7 kilograms of skunk. In another operation in Akwa Ibom State, NDLEA officers intercepted a 37-year-old businessman, Annie Onyebuchi Romans, in Oron while he was traveling with full-body mannequins concealed with tramadol pills weighing 5.3 kilograms. Coordinated operations in Oyo, Edo, Taraba, Niger, and Adamawa states all resulted in the seizure of more than 67 kilograms of assorted illicit drugs, as well as the recovery of over 1.3 million naira in cash. Meanwhile, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency in Taraba State has apprehended 2 suspects in possession of 141 blocks of substances suspected to be compressed cannabis sativa. The suspects were intercepted en route to Adamawa, Gombe State, and were also alleged to be involved in trafficking drugs across states in the northeastern region of Nigeria.
At a glance, one might think these are sacks of food items or animal feeds. But they are suspected cannabis sativa, allegedly meant to be delivered to yet to be identified bandits in Adamawa and Gombe states. They were intercepted by officers of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency in Taraba State.
Officers and men of the Taraba State Command intercepted 2 male suspects traveling to Adamawa and Gombe states. A thorough search conducted during the operation led to the recovery of 141 blocks of compressed cannabis sativa. Preliminary investigation revealed that the illicit drug consignment originated from Dhaka Town in Bali local government area of Taraba State. The suspects were immediately arrested and they are currently in custody undergoing detailed investigation.
One of the suspects, a father of 3 children, confessed to committing the crime, but said it was his first attempt.
I was arrested at the roadblock motor park in possession of compressed cannabis sativa. This is not my usual business. I work in a bakery. I was to return home when my friend asked that I help him carry the illicit drugs along with me. He paid for my transportation.
In 2025, the Taraba State Command of the NDLEA arrested a total of 386 suspects and prosecuted 45 accused persons. The agency assures that it will not lower its guard in the new year until supply and demands for illicit drugs are crippled in the country.
In the period under review, the NDLEA Taraba State Command recorded the following. A total of 386 suspects were arrested, comprising 366 male and 20 female. A cumulative seizure of 2,381.846 kilograms of various illicit substances. We also recover 42.5 liters of cough syrup containing codeine.
The NDLEA also assures of intensified intelligence-led operations across all local government areas of Taraba State.
Section 1 and parts of Section 2 of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway must be ready by the month of April this year, and this follows a directive by the Minister of Works, David Umahi, during an inspection tour of the project recently. He also commended the contractors for the work being done and realizing President Bola Tinubu's vision. The Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway is one of Nigeria's most ambitious infrastructure projects designed to connect 9 coastal states.
We are very happy that the coastal route, is serving its purpose. It's serving out the dreams of the man who dreamed about the coastal route and whom God has given the grace to actualize it at the President Bola Tinubu GCFR. I'm very happy with what I have seen. out of the 47.47 kilometers, excluding the bridges, which is part of the Section 2, project, we have about 15 kilometers that we've been watching the settlements, and I've agreed with High-Tech on some of the sections that we can say that we've achieved about 95% level of settlement, and then CRCP, that's the concrete pavement, should commence as quickly as possible. I'm also very eager to see how we can fully complete this Section 1 by April this year, so that we can have it fully commissioned, the entire stretch of Section 1 and significant part of Section 2. We are going to Section 2, we'll talk about it.
In sports news with updates from the Africa Cup of Nations, where Super Eagles forward Victor Osimhen insists that the late Rashidi Yekini remains the country's best striker, even if he surpasses his goals record. Osimhen is just 2 goals away from surpassing Yekini's 37 goals for the Super Eagles after scoring the opener against Algeria in Marrakesh on Saturday. He commends the team for the win against Algeria, who were tipped as favourites before the quarter-final tie.
First of all, I want to say a very big congratulations to the whole team for the kind of performance they put against a very good team like Algeria, and the kind of quality player they possesses. And for me, I just did my job. I tried to fight for the team. I tried to get goals or assists, and I'm happy both worked for me. But I don't want to take the glory alone. I think the whole squad deserve the hype, deserve the praise. So I congratulate the whole team for the win. Personally, for me, I've said it countless times. I think it doesn't matter if I equal the record or I surpass it. I think the late Mr. Rashidi Yekini is the best striker the Super Eagles has ever produced. And for me, I have the likes of Odion Igalo that have inspired me also to try to do my best for my team, for the Super Eagles. So I think for me, it doesn't take anything away from Yekini as the greatest striker the country has ever produced. I'm just doing my best, and of course, it's amazing to be part of history of the Super Eagles. So I'm just trying to win something important for my country, and I think with the help of my teammate, I'm on that part.
Meanwhile, head coach Eric Chell says that he is not getting carried away with the Super Eagles' performances in the knockout stages, netting in 6 goals and not conceding against Mozambique and Algeria. He says that he will rather focus on the semi-final clash against the host Morocco, who have been unbeaten in 21 games since March the 21st, 2025.
Yeah, my players were very happy and are very happy in the locker room. It was a great game. We played well during this game, and I'm so proud of them. We work a lot since I took this job, so they deserve this victory. But this is only one game, so if we want to stay ambitious, we have to work again, because we have a big game in a few days. So we continue to work. No, my feeling is good, like the last time when they asked me the question about that we concede the goal. No, I'm happy about the game project and the game plan. I'm happy that they show in the pitch.
Egypt Mohamed Salah is also proud of the Pharaohs' performance against title holders Côte d'Ivoire as the North Africans enhance their hopes of a record-existing 8th African crown. Egypt ended Côte d'Ivoire's reign as African champions after claiming a thrilling 3-2 win in the team's quarter-final clash at the Adra Stadium in Agadir. But the Pharaohs will now face Senegal in the semi-final on Wednesday, January the 14th, set for the Tangier Grand Stadium.
It was a very tough game for sure. You play against opponents, most of them play in Europe. They won it last time in their country, and I told them also that you guys won it last time in your country. There is no better feeling in your life you would have like the same they had last time. You play against a champion, so they defend as a champion. They dominate most of the games, and we managed to go through because I think we gave it all, and we fight with our heart and our soul in the field. And I'm glad that we managed an end to win.
And Leeds needed a second-half fight back to beat Derby County 3-1 and book their own place in the fourth round of the FA Cup earlier today. The Premier League side have lost just once in their last 9 games to pull clear of the relegation zone. Gabriel Martinelli shrugged off the backlash to his own clash with stricken Liverpool defender Conor Bradley to send Arsenal into the fourth round with a 4-1 win at Portsmouth. But Valentin's first West Ham goal spared his own new side for woe as the Hammers edged past Queen's Park Rangers in extra time in the FA Cup's third round. Manchester United's problems mounted as the managerless Red Devils crashed out of the FA Cup after the 2-1 defeat against Brighton. And away from football, world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka is determined to fight for a third Australian Open title in 4 years after winning his second successive Brisbane International crown earlier today. Sabalenka scored a dominant 6-4, 6-3 win over Marta Kostyuk in just 2024.
To get past the world number 1, she wouldn't allow it.
Yeah, it's super special. I'm happy to hold this trophy. I'm happy to start season on a very strong note, and yeah, I'm happy with the level I was able to show throughout this week. Can't complain. Well, I don't know. It's tennis, it's sport, and that's why it's so beautiful because you cannot predict anything. It's like every day you go out there and you prove your level, you prove your point, and I think this week I did it really well. But nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. But the only one thing I'm sure is that I'll be there. I'll be fighting. I'll do my best to go as far as possible and do a little bit better than I did last year, and that's where is my focus. My focus is on my game, on developing myself and making sure that I'm strong and healthy heading to the AO.
Oh Lord, we dey help. We throw a salute.
26th World Faith Believers Convention, WOFBEC, has come to an end with a Thanksgiving service held at the Tafawa Balewa Square in Lagos. The grand finale featured vibrant praise and worship, special song ministrations, and powerful messages centered on the conference theme, Thy Kingdom Come. The grand finale, which culminated the 10-day conference, attracted a large crowd and featured praise and worship, special songs, and messages to the theme of the conference.
The divine nature that is inside you only begins to work the way it is supposed to work when you connect it to serving others. So if leaving this ground here, don't think in terms of I was believing God, for a job, I was believing God, for a car, I was believing God, for this. Turn that faith loose, all right, in helping other people, in ministering to the needs of other people, in praying for other people, in reaching out and standing in that gap. That is the secret there to the miraculous.
An outsider shows Iran had warned the United States of retaliation if it intervenes in current protests going on in the country. Authorities have been cracking down on anti-government protests that have been going for at least 14 days now, sparked by soaring inflation. The protesters are now calling for an end to the clerical rule of Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The U.S. has threatened to strike Iran over the killing of protesters, and President Donald Trump on Saturday said that the U.S. stands ready to help as Iran is looking at freedom. And 2 human rights groups have reported more than 100 people, including security personnel, killed. Staff of several hospitals say that they have been overwhelmed with the injured and the dead, but Iran's attorney says that anyone protesting could be considered an enemy of God, an offense that carries the death penalty. And the main news again. FCT Minister Nyesom Wike has reaffirmed that Obiakpor local government area of River State remains a decisive force in River State politics as he concludes his tour of local government areas across the state. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Mwawada. Good night and have a fruitful week ahead.
Hello, a happy new year to you and welcome to another inspiring edition of Diaspora Network, the program where we celebrate Nigerians making remarkable strides around the world. I'm Teniola Oyitayo. On today's episode, we turn our focus to the world of pageantry. Our guest is Josephine Nwagu, the newly crowned Miss Diaspora Nigeria USA 2025. She's also a law student and an education